Kanisha Grayson. I am the founder and CEO of The Art of Applying. Today we have one of our wonderful, amazing clients, Sarah, here to share her story. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Kanisha. Good to see you again.
Yes, so good to see you and so good to interact with you on camera. First of all, tell everybody what we are celebrating today.
Well, I'm celebrating actually 1.5 admissions. I got into George Washington University's International Law and Comparative Law program with an LLM, and it's a top 5 program, and I'm excited about it. I also got waitlisted by Emory, but they anticipate admitting me. They anticipate admitting me this month of May, but it's most likely it is that I'm going to George Washington because I prefer George Washington. I think it offers more of what I want concerning my career aspirations and all that. So that's what we'll be celebrating right now.
Fantastic. Congratulations, Sarah.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So you talked about your career aspirations. Briefly tell us a little bit about your personal and professional background and why it is that you want to go get your LLM and you're going to go get your LLM at George Washington.
Okay, so I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer, and I moved to the United States from Ghana to pursue a law degree. And looking back at it, I wish I had taken more time in the application process and done more research. So I would have gotten into knowing what I know now. I probably would have done things differently. And part of my story is that sometimes you feel like because of your GPA and your scores, you feel like, oh, you can only take what you can get. And it's kind of like in a relationship too as well. Like some people think that, oh, we just take what we can get and just be treated anyhow. And so that's what it was like with my law degree. I did finish law school successfully, but there are a lot of even though the school was accredited, the school that I went to, there have been some issues. But I always knew I wanted to pursue an LLM because I know that I want to get into international law. And so people I have spoken to who are mentors or who are professionals in that area have advised that I get an LLM to help prepare me to get to that place. Most attorneys, especially in the United States, or most law firms, don't really value LLMs because they say once you get a JD, it's pretty much fine. You have a law degree, you can take the bar, and then just practice law. So a lot of people, that's why you have to be careful who you speak to, because a lot of people had discouragements and why would you want to get an LLM? That's a waste of money. But I spoke to the right people, professors at law school. I spoke to people in that area who have said that an LLM would be helpful. And so right after law school, I started the process of looking at what I needed to do to get an LLM. And it's not as rigorous as applying for a JD. You don't need any standardized test scores. You just need to, again, go through the LSAC and just send in your transcripts, recommendations, and you must definitely have personal statements and all that good stuff. So I would say that comparing it to other application processes, I would say it's a little bit more straightforward and a little easier because the personal statement can be tweaked to fit each school. But it could almost pretty much be the same. And so that's why I'm getting an LLM. My dream job is to work with the UN or an international organization. And one of the reasons why I picked George Washington is that being the top 5 research into the schools, they have all those connections to get me there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Wonderful. And how does it feel now that you are one step closer to getting your dream job at the United Nations?
It feels great. It feels great. I mean, I would say I've had a lot of self-doubt in the last years. I know a few people in my law school who tried to go get their LLM in other things, and they went for the safest schools that they thought they could get into. And when I said, because I made a list of the top schools, I looked in the US news and rankings about the top international law schools. And so I decided to apply to some of the top. So Columbia was one of them, NYU. I'm still waiting on NYU, by the way. George Washington University, American University. Yeah, that's pretty much, yeah. I wanted to apply to Harvard, but the process was so tedious because I would have had to start all of, they don't go through the LSAC, so you have to ask your recommenders to go through them. So it's been 3 years that I have been working on all this, and when I didn't get into Columbia earlier this year, I was a little discouraged because their deadline was the earliest, and so I wasn't so sure if I didn't get it. I don't know if I'll get into the other schools. But, and also being a full-time, having been working right now, I didn't know how I was going to pay for the application fees. So, but then I don't know, something just said, just ask them for a fee waiver. So I got 3 fee waivers as well. And so to actually get to that, it was encouraging. So when I got to George Washington, I said, oh, it just gave me an affirmation that, Sarah, you are capable, it's just not looking down on myself. So it feels good to hear not what people who have affirmed me just were saying, but feels good to actually have that personal affirmation and know that it's possible. You don't have to have a stellar GPA to be able to get into these schools. It's how you present yourself to them, and if you think that you're legit, and if you think that you're capable, and if you think that you're the real MVP, they will definitely think so too. So that is, it feels good. And so knowing this, I have just this step ahead lets me know that my dreams are possible, are valid, and that I can get to where I want to be. I can practice international law. I can work for the UN. And all those goals will definitely come into fruition. Yeah. So
beautiful. So one thing you said, Sarah, is applying for an LLM is more of a straightforward process as compared to applying to law school. So how did you find the art of applying, and even forward process? What made you reach out to us?
Okay, so I can't really remember exactly how I got the breakthrough call. What happened was, I think I saw an ad on Facebook.
I think you might be covering your mic, Sarah, or our audio's but in and out, as if you might have your hand or something over the mic.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's better now. I wonder if you were just touching it or something accidentally.
Okay, I wasn't touching. Okay, is it?
Okay,
it's fine. Okay, good.
Okay, so you were telling us about how you found us. You said you thought it might have been a Facebook ad. And
yes,
then
no, I know it was a Facebook ad. Definitely was a Facebook ad. And so what had happened was, I think it was that ad that had a seminar or webinar or something about how to get. So I was interested in. I was curious as to what this webinar was about. And so when I watched the webinar, that was the very first time I have ever heard that not having a stellar GPA. In fact, I thought it was too good to be true. Not having a stellar GPA can get you into these schools, because I found myself comparing myself to all these people who have gone to these great schools and they seem to have had stellar GPAs. So it was wow, encouraging to hear that, because a lot of people say, oh no, you can definitely not get into Harvard if you don't have a 170 something LSAT score, or all that. Yes. So when I watched the webinar, I don't recall how I was able to schedule a breakthrough call. I don't know if I got an email. I can't remember how. But anyway, I managed to schedule one. Actually, it was 2, actually. The first one, I think the person I spoke to asked if someone was sponsoring my education, and they asked that they wanted their parents to be in the call. And that wasn't possible because my parents were in Ghana. I mean, I didn't know how to work that out. So I then scheduled a second breakthrough call like a month later. And I don't know, for some reason that didn't become an issue anymore. And when I told them what, or answered all the questions, they said the editing accelerator was the best fit for me, which it seems like it was, because the LLM, I think that I actually had visited some of these schools, American University and George Washington. They had actually said that the personal statement is the highlight of your application. Mm-hmm. So for me, the editing accelerator was helpful in editing my personal statement. Mm-hmm. And also at the time when I went through the program, I wasn't 100% sure if I wanted to apply that cycle because I was already in another school program. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't sure if I'd be able to go to school that following year. So that worked out for me with the editing accelerator. Just being able to edit all my personal statements, have them handy so that when I was ready to apply, I could just submit everything in. Yeah.
Fantastic. So what made you choose us versus working with another company or trying to do it on your own?
I didn't know, first of all, I didn't really know that many other companies that help with applications. I wasn't very much aware of them. And secondly, I think, yes. So, and secondly, I had applied to Cornell before in the beginning, and this was years before the out of apply. And then I realized that I can't, in order for me to produce a stellar product, I may need a little help. And I wanted a professional to have a look at my personal statement to make sure that I'm tailoring it right to the schools and selling myself right. Letting them know how capable I was. Mm-hmm. And so I knew I needed a second professional opinion. So I didn't have the money. I had to use my credit card. But I just felt like that was an investment because I knew I really, really wanted this. And so that's why I decided to go with the art of applying. Based on, I believe, also before that, I think I watched an interview like this from a previous client on YouTube or something like that, and the client talked about getting to Cornell with a not so great GPA, or the client wasn't having anything to do with law. I think the client was an MBA.
Yep, Kenny.
Yes. So so hearing his story made it promising. It was a little nerve-wracking because sometimes it's not just about this kind of company, but there are certain consulting life coaches and all that. You're also concerned about just people just taking money or just wanting money. So one of the things I asked the breakthrough coach is, would you honestly tell me that, hey, no, we can't take you, rather than just take a big chunk of money from me? Just so, because that was important. I would rather them say, hey, no, we don't think we can help you, as versus, well, we can help you, take your money, and then nothing is done. Yeah.
Of course. So what did the person say to you during your breakthrough call when you asked
Well,
them?
they did say that they thought I was a great fit for the program, because they had asked where I was in the application process. Because by the time I started, I already had personal statements ready. So, and my resume ready, and those needed to be edited. So all I had to just put it in. And so when she gave me that validation, I said, okay, I took a decision and I said, okay, I'm just going to go for it and then start. So I was happy that I got to, looking back, because this was like a little over a year ago, I'm happy I did all those edits then. and making my application process, because I've been so busy. So having to now rewrite a new process and re-edit it would have been very cumbersome at this time. So I think it was the best timing then. And so for the person to tell me truth, tell me that I was capable of joining a good fit for their program, was a validation. So, and that's when I decided to take it. Yeah.
Awesome. And what advice would you give to other applicants? Let's say other international applicants, other Ghanaians, other Africans, women of color, people who are watching this video who see a piece of themselves in you. What are 3 pieces of advice you would give them? And I would like to propose one. I think it's probably start early, because it sounds like you said, you know, having your materials ready and then early and then being able to submit them was really great. So talk about starting early, and then 2 other pieces of advice that you would give to other people who may see themselves in you.
Okay, right. You have to make a decision as to when, ahead of time, set a goal when you want to start school. And so you want to start early. So if someone who's watching this video is probably maybe in their last year of law school, maybe, and they're thinking that, oh, I would like to do an LLM, but I'd like to take a break, like a 1-year break or something. So I would advise that take a 1-year break, you know, search within yourself and find out what exactly you want to do, because the LLM is a specialization. So you need to take your time before ever going into probably seeing a consultant. You may want to look at different applications and see what they're looking for and start drafting a personal statement. And so that would save you a whole lot of time. So should you decide to go with a consulting company, when you go in, you already have your stuff to be edited. So all you have to do is to just submit it. So I would say, yes, starting early is very crucial, because you get to at least just free write your personal statement. At least that's one thing you should do. You should also start contacting your recommenders, because my recommendations got in 2 years ago and I'm applying now. I was applying this year or this last year. And even when I had enrolled with the Out of Applying, my recommendations were already turned in. So, you know, you may want to save time, because, you know, recommenders, you have to kind of coax them to speed things up. You don't want to wait to the last minute with your recommenders. So it's at least start 6 months to a year earlier, so that by the time that you're done with your personal statement, your recommendations, when you are on your computer and you're on the application page of the school, you're just answering the questions and just submitting all your edited work. It makes it a little simpler and no stress. I'm someone who doesn't like to get myself stressed out. You know, I don't want to get anxious. So to make it easier, I've learned that it's very best to start early when it comes to these application process. That's one. Number 2, I would say beware of the doubt devil. That's what I would say.
I
Beware
love that, the doubt devil.
Yes, that's what I've learned. I think, you know, when they say you are your biggest enemy, is that, I don't know if that's the right word.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, your mind, I don't think it's other people, but it's you are the one who can hinder your success. I've learned a lesson. I don't regret anything in my life. The law school that I went to, I met some great people, great professors and all that. Had I probably believed in myself, maybe at the time, and strived harder and all that, I probably would have gone to a much more recognized school. However, I don't have any regrets. I believe everything happens for a reason, but I really don't think anybody should settle. I feel like everyone should believe that they deserve the best. Like, you deserve to get into Harvard, and maybe think that Harvard is privileged to have you apply to their school, or Columbia is privileged to have you apply to the school. So the admissions officer is not going to believe that you are you are great until you see yourself as great. And that's one thing I've learned. And so you have to really believe that you're real. You can achieve what you want to achieve. You can achieve going into these great schools. Don't sell yourself short. Don't feel like you deserve the worst, because you deserve the best. And so beware of the devil. Believe that if your goal is to go to one of these schools, set that goal and go for it. Don't let a low GPA or a low standardized test score stop you. Yes, so that's my second one. My third one is, you mentioned a person of color, an African, and all that. Use that to your advantage, because that is it's your telling a story. It's your story that really maximizes your application. So whether you're a person of color, whether you're an African like myself, make sure you talk about that and how you want to use that to achieve your goals. Like for me, my goal is to work in international gender and international human rights, particularly in the area of women's rights. And so I told stories of what I have seen going on in my country and in Africa as a whole, and the kind of work that I wanted to do. And so I focused on that story. So use that to your advantage. It's not necessarily, yes, there are limitations as a person of color, as a woman of color, for that, as an African immigrant. There are limitations, but tell that story, because they are looking for, surprisingly, they are looking for people like that. So don't be scared to tell that story. Be open to it and share the story, and as much as you can, and how you can tie that with your goals. That would be my third thing. So yeah, so start early, beware of the dark devil, and use your story to your advantage. Yes, those are my three things.
Sarah, those were absolutely wonderful. Thank you for sharing those. Yes. I'd love to just very quickly hear what your favorite, most valuable part of working with the Art of Applying was.
My favorite? I think it was actually, I think some of it was the client. Is it the client meetings? Was it
the Q&A calls, the all client Q&A calls?
Yes, the Q&A calls. Hearing, at least it was good hearing from other clients and what they do, the celebrations and all that. It's good. Sometimes it's good to see that you're not alone. So seeing other people in the same boat as you. I still have access to the recordings of some of the clients, and so I would go back and listen to it when I was having that. And some of the other clients had the same concerns that I had, and it was addressed in the Q&A course. I couldn't always attend the Q&A course because of the time difference. It was so early, but going back to listen to it, those are very helpful. And also the fact that the consultant is just ready to answer any questions or any concerns that you have. Whenever you're anxious, they're willing to have that conversation and can relate. So yes, those are two things that I enjoy taking. Oh, and the editing, it was good to at least have it. I think it's refreshing when you have someone sign off on your work and say, hey, this is great, this is what you should focus on, and all that. It's helpful. Yeah.
Beautiful. This was absolutely wonderful. Thank you for sharing your story, Sarah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're gonna help and inspire a lot of people. Just like you watched Kenny's video about him getting into Cornell, someone's going to be watching your video about getting into George Washington and be so encouraged and inspired, and they're going to be able to banish the doubt devil and seize their dreams.
Exactly. Yeah. One more thing. So the thing about George Washington is they unfortunately were not able to give me any scholarship. So, but I went back and asked for a reconsideration.
Good, which is something we teach our clients.
Yes, that's what you said. So I went back and I asked them, I told them the story. And so right now they are in the process of evaluating that. You know, I did submit my declaration of intent to accept. And so again, it's the mind. I'm positive. I do, if they are still, evaluating it, I mean, it means something. So I'm just staying positive, and I'm having a little bit of faith and being hopeful that, you know, I would get that. Also, going back to Colombia, they took so long to get back to me because I submitted my application early enough, and then they got back to me asking for my MBA transcripts. Now, my MBA, that's not what is required. They just, when you apply for LLM, all you need is just your college transcripts and your law school transcripts. Mm-hmm. So I was like, right, because the LSAC doesn't even give you that manual option to be able to put it in. So I had to call them to manually put that in. Okay. And so I thought, okay, what is going on? And so after it took about 4 months before I got the decision. And they were saying, they're sorry that this has been the highest, this has been the most challenging year with the highest qualified applicants they've ever received in their history. And a friend of mine was explaining to me that, I don't know if this is true, that sometimes also there may be somebody fighting for you in the admission.
Yes.
There, because she said that she had a friend who worked in the admissions office, and they, I think a group of 10 people take their best applications and advocate for them. And she said, it's possible that someone was fighting for you. That's why they probably asked for your chance, because, hey, look, she's got an MBA or something.
Exactly.
So she said, no, because I was so down and discouraged, she said, no, don't be down, because someone thought you were there, but they just have to make a decision out of this huge pool of highly qualified people. So if my last thing is, if you get a rejection, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that you are not good enough for the school. It's just that they have to make some tough decisions, and there may be a few people in there who think that you're capable and you can get in. Yeah.
Wonderful. I love your encouragement. I love your optimism and your perseverance. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Sarah.
And thank you very much for having me. Yes.
Thanks for watching our video. For more videos just like this, make sure you click subscribe. And if you want to work with us on your graduate school applications, visit us at theartofapplying.com or click on the link below in the description.